it's Bunny, and I wanted to come on here just to rant about certain stuff, right? So let's get straight into it. First off, the statue. Yep, the statue. I said I wasn't going to speak about it, but I feel like I should just get it out the way and like kind of just release my thoughts, you know, because I think about it like once a day at this point, you know? Yeah. And I found the response about the statue disgusting, to be honest. Especially when it came to an ambiguous black woman, right? It it's like y'all complain about racism and exoticals specifically being mean to you and all of this stuff, and oh, everybody else is. I've talked about this before. Everybody else is the problem, but you. But you know who I see talking about this statue in the most disgusting ways, saying that it looks like a monster and that, ugh, that she looks angry, and when you just the statue is just there. It looks like a person who's literally just standing there. It's like a normal person you'd see anywhere. That doesn't mean you're mad. Yeah. But literally, and I remember the person who said it, right? Honestly, I just I'm not putting that woman's clip in there because she just irritates me. I don't want to hear her voice. I don't want to no, right? And she's one of those people, right? Whenever people talk about respectability, politics, and stuff like that, I always hate it because it's like something dumb that they bring up, like, oh, I shouldn't have to not wear a bonnet outside because, that's my choice. Okay, it looks like you just rolled out of bed and you're dirty if you want to. But if somebody looks at you and says, ew, I don't have any change, that's you can't really be mad at that. By the way, I was on like a Zoom call, right? And this was like in the afternoon, right? And I've been like sick like most of this week, right? And literally I hop on the call and you know what I see first? My eyes instantly go to this girl who's sitting there at 1:30 p.m. with a bonnet on. Oh, I couldn't stop staring. I couldn't. I was so distracted. I said literally, and it was one of those things where it's like, they do this thing where like they have the wig, right? And then they have like the bonnet on top with like the hair out at the end. It's literally like what are we doing? You just look like you rolled out of bed, and uh, you look dirty to me, to be honest. Um it's like why you either wear the whole thing or just take it off. At that point it's literally like what's the point? But like, yeah, when people talk about respectability politics, right? I always like roll my eyes. But when I saw that woman's video, right? I said, yeah, this is what they mean. This is literally what they mean because y'all do stuff like this. And it's like you're holding people to a higher standard and then complaining when that standard gets upheld, when you personally don't meet it, when you don't meet this one thing, right? You'll complain about light skinned women, right? But a statue literally depicting majority of unambiguous dark skinned black women, oh, that's so horrible. She looks angry. They're racist. Da, da, da. And it's a black man who made the statue. He actually made so many other pieces, right? Of different if I can find it, I'll put it in, right? Of so many different regular people. His artwork is about regular everyday people, right? And that's the problem. There's nothing wrong with being average and regular. That's the problem with this whole thing of you need to be the best and you have to have the biggest car and the biggest house and stuff like that. Social media has fried y'all's brains. Nobody like this whole thing has been pissing everything has just been pissing me off lately, right? And it's literally like not. this is why majority of the youth today think they're going to be influencers and don't actually want to get a real job. Part of it, right? Part of it. Because, you know, working is kind of a, well, working a 9 to 5 is kind of a scam, kind of, because they will lay you off. We've seen it. And not care at all. So, yeah, literally it's like y'all are complaining about this, right? But it's like, why do you have to be exceptional to have a statue? It makes no sense, right? And y'all even tried to do this thing. I saw this video, right, of like this guy going up to this woman, right? Who was like going there to view the statue, right? And she was so happy about it. And he was like, "Oh, why couldn't they put a small, cute, petite, in shape black woman up there? How many small, petite black women in their 30s? She looks to be late 20s, early 30s. Do you know that are in shape? Please, 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 quickly. Majority of black women, unambiguous black women, are overweight. I don't know why we're pretending. I don't know why we're. This is the problem with y'all doing this, and this is the problem, right? That I have with black excellence, right? I know. Ooh, how dare I say that? But when y'all push the excellency so much in certain ways, right? You are ignoring the other people who are average. You're ignoring the people who fall behind. This is why so many neurodivergent, like black people get, or people of color in general, honestly. But I think race definitely plays a factor in how you're perceived in diagnoses and things like that. And people taking you seriously about your diagnoses, right? That's why, like, you just kind of ignore the rest of the people, and you're just like, this is why I figured it out. This is why the unambiguous black community loves celebrities in Hollywood so much, because they think of it as black excellence. That's the pinnacle for them, as black excellence, right? You know when Oh god. When that's why they look up to celebs, right? For their political views, for their life choices, for their image and what they want to look like and things like that. And people, I feel like people used to look at their communities and look like, oh, she lives down the street and she's so amazing. She owns like a restaurant. And, people look to people like that. I don't think people understand your role models were supposed to be people that you actually knew, not a random stranger, you know, not a random celeb who, you know, is, tied to the system, is working for a system, right? Y'all claim to be anti-establishment and all this stuff, and fight the patriarchy, fight the man, fight the white man, but y'all play into it every single time. And it's like, this is why I couldn't be an activist. I thought I was going to be, right? But like, y'all just don't do it. I get I literally boycotted so many different things, right? And when I realized that people were not boycotting it, right? Despite going on and on about it, right? And I was the only one doing it. Even though these are the people who are making all the Instagram posts, they were doing shouting it out the most, right? And you couldn't even care enough to actually stick by your word, right? But me, who, is kind of like in the middle, I mostly sit like in the middle with a lot of stuff, right? I gave enough of a fuck, to actually stand on my word and stop supporting certain stuff, right? But yeah, back to my point about the statue, right? I don't understand what is so wrong about being average, what is so wrong about, having a statue of you, right? And this is a temporary statue. That's what, like, y'all, oh my God, I'm getting so frustrated because it's so dumb. It's so dumb, you know? We need to get back to the days, right? where being okay, where being average is actually acceptable again. Y'all keep striving for things that you are never going to be in ways that are like really toxic to each other and to your community, right? And it's actually just making you really unhappy. Like y'all are focusing on people that you will never look like. Like I'm talking about things like focusing on people that you'll never look like, people who will never have the same genetics as you, and just doing stupid stuff where it's like, why do why does everybody need to be one thing? That's why we see so many people doing this almost like cookie cutter like personality and looks and stuff like that. We are losing so much individuality. And as much as I, you know, don't agree with obesity, that is what majority of women that age and demographic look like. I could walk outside right now and throw a rock and hit about 10 of them, you know? And that's not a diss, but that's being realistic. Why are we lying? Because put the y'all only pay attention to people who are conventionally attractive and who look a certain way that you want to be instead of focusing on what you actually look like and what your community actually looks like. Not Hollywood, not this random supermodel you saw, what your community actually looks like. And it's really y'all don't understand how it's harming yourself and your community. You're you're literally playing into your own demise and your own community's dysfunction by doing this. And it's yeah. And this is why you see I don't think yeah. Like y'all always say, "Oh, I have to work 10 times harder, you know, to just be, you know, great and stuff like that and so much harder for black people." Y'all make it hard too. Let's be honest. I've seen so many unambiguous dark-skinned black people, or just black people in general, constantly be the worst and most ill talking about their own community, about their own people, right? And oh, well, why did she get that? I've been hearing so much. Oh, why did she get that? Why does she have a statue? Da, da, da. They should They should have put me on there. Da, da, da. Why is this not a win for you? If she can do it, you certainly can do it, you know? Somebody, I don't have to find the woman beautiful to see beauty in her and value in her. And I think, you know, the fat acceptance movement, I'm never going to really agree with them because let's be honest, um, they've been covering up their lies for a while now. And honestly, if we're going to be very honest, it's a death cult. How many people have died in the past few years? We're now seeing the ramifications of the lies and the gaslighting and things like that, and how all of them are now on the Ozempic. Yep, I would have never guessed it a few years ago, but seeing it now, does it boil my blood? Yes, it does. But a lot of things do. But yeah, this is why I feel like the fat acceptance people are just fat activists who are like, oh, you know, not people who align with that, right? Say that, you know, being a fat, black, dark skinned woman is like the worst thing to be, right? Because look at the way y'all are treating this statue. And let's be honest, this is not just a statue, but this is also based off of a person. Like, obviously, that's what a statue is, right? But, you know, this is a person we're talking about. You're not just talking about a statue, you're talking about a person. You're talking about people that you possibly look like, probably look like, right? People in your lineage, you know, and it just, yeah, all this like hating of the statue and this woman because this is a woman, this is a real person who is based off of whose literally image is being put up there and is being, insulted and, being the racial remarks I'm hearing coming from other unambiguous dark-skinned black women, right? And it's only them. I've not seen it. Correct me if I'm wrong. I have not seen no white people. I've seen nobody else. Nobody else, right? And I don't even I think I might have seen one black man, but like that's about it. I haven't seen anybody else but dark skinned and unambiguous black women. And I think that's very telling. That's why I can't, be this advocate. And I was one of those people before, right? I can't because y'all love y'all your own destruction. Y'all love to hate each other so much, and I don't want to be a part of it. I really don't. Y'all say I'm so mean to you. I was so nasty and so rude. I was so nasty and so rude. Mm. But y'all are saying, oh, basically equating this woman, right, to a minstrel show. Okay, yeah. I see this as a huge win for average black women, right? And I just don't understand why it's so awful for y'all. I don't understand why y'all's brains are so, messed up that y'all I don't know it's from if it's from all that Molly you take, but I never said that. Yeah, but y'all are delusional. That's literally your mom, that's literally your auntie, that's literally your grandma. Um, yeah. Also, I forgot to mention when they were like I saw yeah, that video. I literally got off topic, sorry. Yeah. So when I saw that video of that woman like visiting the statue, right, and the guy was just like, "Oh, why isn't a petite black woman da da da," right? And then she said, "Oh, well, this is an everyday woman, and because she knew the history about around the art, and she went to she had a chance to go to the artist like exhibition, and more history about like what he does and why his art is the way it is, right?" And she was just like, "Oh, well, this is the everyday woman. It's like, oh, she is the granddaughter taking care of her grandma and stuff like that, and the just putting her in like matronly, you know, roles." And I said to myself, why does she need to be a matron for her to be seen as valuable, for her to be like, oh yeah, it's okay for her to be up there or stuff like that. I don't know. But it's just like y'all, even when you're defending it, you're still kind of saying, oh, she's matronly. What if she's just a woman? What if she's just a person? Like, why does she have to be this amazing person for her to be deserving of a statue, for her to image to be seen? Is like yeah, I think I'm just really over how we've been conditioned to think that, if you're not exceptional, if you're not, the best of the best, and this whole, hyper competitive weirdness that's going on, right? That if you're not that, then you don't deserve anything. You don't deserve to be seen. You don't deserve accomplishment and accolades and things like that. It feels weird to me because who built this place? Who are the people who were here before? And all of this stuff. It feels like the women, the women we see every day, our mothers, our, aunties and grandmas, right? Not everybody looks a certain way or is like, you know, y'all are acting like everybody's grandma, everybody's that's keeping in the age range that I think the statue is. So 26 to 30 looks, is like built and is super active and all of this stuff. It just feels like y'all are suspending reality again because it feels uncomfortable for y'all to admit, oh, yeah, I'm pushing beliefs onto this person, onto women like her, right? Because I feel uncomfortable with that. Because, oh, you need to be the rest. This is why, you hear things like, oh, you need to get your hair done, and your hair is already done. You know, this is why so many things like that happen in the unambiguous Black community, because y'all hold yourselves to a near impossible standard, but let not anybody else say something to you, right? Let not a white person say that to you, but oh, I can abuse you because we're both Black. So I can abuse you. I can say, your hair is, I'm not even going to say the word, the N word, the one that is the slang for a diaper, basically calling your hair shitty. Okay. I'm always going to have a gripe with that word. And I'm not even one who's like, it's not a word that affects me personally, but like, I just, yeah, no. But yeah, I don't like it. I don't. I hate the commentary about it. I hate how evil and wicked people are about in general, honestly, but about the statue in particular. Um, she's a person. She's a person, and she's probably seeing all this. And how awful it must feel to have your own community say that stuff about you. And y'all say, "Oh, we're all kinfolk. We're so supportive, and we accept everyone." Y'all accept. Don't get me started on the whole gingers are Black. That video is coming. Y'all, y'all pissed me off all this month. Oh, I couldn't have a moment of rest. Even when I was sick. Yeah, but that's it for the video, I think. Please like, please comment, please subscribe. I'll see y'all later. Bye.